Hi everyone, this is Greg, and yeah, I know it's a branded t-shirt, but it was the lighter I had because it's very warm here in Paris. Currently we're having a first heat wave of the summer, so I'm a bit worried for my collection and also for the videos, especially the tasting videos. So disclaimer before I start. Yes, there's 27 degrees Celsius today inside, and there will be over 28 outside, but there's less now outside than there's inside, so it's crazy. I have the fan on, as you can see on the other side. It's always confusing, and yeah, I'm doing my best. I'm not sure I'm gonna make it all summer tasting video wise, but if I can't, what I will propose you is maybe list videos, top this, top that, or recommended for this, for that, and other general topics. So or topics about brands and whiskies, specific whiskies, for which I will rely on my notes instead of tasting. But I poured a very tiny amount here of 5 gins, because today I'm recording this on Saturday 10 of June, so it's World Gin Day, if I'm not mistaken. The video will probably though be only be online tomorrow, because it takes some time even if I don't do editing. I've prepared this video for a while, the second part. But it needs a lot of time to compress it and then to upload it in my old computer, and with my not so good connection for now. I don't have fiber yet, so I apologize for the wait. Now, this is the second part of the videos about gin I've planned to do. This one is called Whiskey Distilleries Making Gin, with a wee mini disclaimer inside that. Yes, I apologize, one of those is not made by a whiskey distillery specifically, but by a Genever and Juniper distillery. So it's the exception of the rule, but it's a number 3, by the way. But I've decided to include this in the lineup because aromatic profile wise I thought it was great in the set of today. Now, I've talked about gin already in a video that highlighted the French Spirits Day a few weeks ago or months ago, I don't remember now, in which I did present one gin, one whiskey and one Armagnac from France. The gin was exceptional. It's called l'Alambic Parisien. If you want to hear about this, you can have a look at this video. And also I'm planning to do a video with the rest of the gins I haven't talked about yet. I also went to a show called Cocktail Spirits in Paris last weekend, and I discovered a bunch of new gins as well, some brand new, some unknown to me at this date. I've planned to maybe get 1 or 2 this summer, so there will be a kind of sequel episode with maybe 7, 8 other gins, I don't know now, or 10. Not all will be tasted on cam, and maybe after that I will do a kind of small shorter video stating my top 5, top 7 or top 10 gins. Who knows, we'll see. Yeah, this probably occur, but I don't know when. I want to really gather 2 or 3 gins I'm targeting now, including one which is the most complex so far. I've come across the Monkey gin, of course. Monkey 47 with 47 botanicals. I want to get that. So what do we have today to speak about today? And this is not completely random, by the way. Of course, it was the lightest I had, but there's a relationship with one of the gins there, indirect. So what I gathered there is some pretty fragrant and quietly complex and powerful, aromatically talking gins. There's one gin that is not from Scotland, but all the other ones, it's two, with the London Dry Gin, which is, I don't know if you know that, not even made in UK, but in continental Europe. How about that? But it's called London Dry Gin. Once again, if you want to know more about gin in general, of course, they're way better channel than mine for that, and I advise you some in the previous episode. I will put a link below. I've based once again my reflections and informations I'm giving to you about the gin, and believe me, some were absolutely not easy to gather recipes wise. Bear with me a second. Yeah, I forgot to bring this. It's one of the sources I'm relying on, Dave Broom's Gin, How to Drink It, with 125 gins, 4 ways of drinking it. And after some general pages where you can see some stills making Genever, and also you can see some recipes, and after that, and you will see that when the Botanist, you will have a bit of recipe, and you have also a bit of history, and also how it goes in G&T with Sicilian lemonade, with Negroni, or in a Negroni, or in a Martini. Oh. I'm surprised because I'm just discovering, wait a minute, Springbank has a gin. Oh yeah, I didn't notice that, I apologize. Old Raj is made, did you know that? Is made by Springbank Distillery in Campbelltown. That one here. Do you know that? I didn't know that. Or did I see it go and I forgot? So I'm basing my infos on that book, but also, and this is the page, on the Gin is in, a very nice, we'll have a tasting wheel, profile wheel, on the ginisin.com, which is a big source about gins. Okay, enough introduction, another long one, I'm sorry. First gin I want to talk to you about is from a distillery who is preparing, and I didn't expect that to be that quick, because it was announced, it was pre-announced as some things happening this year, but I didn't expect it while I prepared this video a few weeks ago to be as now imminent, if I may say, to be released. It's the, well, let's first show you the gin, and then the whiskey who might come soon, will come soon. So I love Harris Gin, which is on Isle of Harris and Lewis, if I'm not mistaken. So quite Hebridean, Scotland. Let me put that here, yeah. I will speak about the packaging and the gin. So I did prepare this, and now I know I'm wrong, because I'm not sure it's gonna bear the subtitle. So I did do a kind of fiction about what could be this future single malt from this distillery, but I'm partly correct, partly wrong. Inaugural release is not 2024 as I expected it, but 22 September of 2023. The name I chose, the nickname Burr, in tribute to Anderson Burr Bakewell, who is quite related to the development of the island. Yes, it will be a Hebridean single malt Scotch whiskey, sorry, but in practical regulations, it will still be a Highland single malt. If you go on the website of the distillery, but I received a newsletter as I'm a fan of the gin and I have big expectations about whiskey. You can see they announce so the whiskey will be distilled, matured, married, so it's interesting blending wise, and bottled on site, so on the island. It will use barley peated for some at 14 ppm, but some will be highly peated at 30 ppm. Still moderate one. Bear in mind, Ardbeg it's around 55. Lafrogue, Lagavulin is around 35, 40. Port Charlotte 40. So, but more or less, of course. So moderately peated. I suspect it will resemble a bit to the normal non-heavily peated Ardent American, but we don't know. They state it will be non-chill-filtered, non-colored, bottled at 46%. I was expecting 48, but 46 makes more sense to align it with other releases. Cask that will be used, they told me last year they will not go to crazy kind of casks as other distilleries, new distilleries, so they will stick to bourbon and sherry, but the novelties they announced not only Oloroso but also Fino and Butts, so bigger casks. So we'll see. Now about the gin, so the distillery has been started in 2015. They started to distill gin right away. My bottle is from 2018 though. It's bottled at 45% ABV, and before I forgot, this is the kind of distilleries like Isle of Raasay, like Ardent American, Staraveg. This is kind of distilleries that really want to help local population grow and help employment in those areas, what we call social distillery. Also, there's also the green question, but we'll come back to this when we'll try the first single malt. So by the end of the year, I guess, if we get allocations in France. So enough about the whiskey part, but talking about the gin part, I managed to get the recipe of this. Where is it? Just a second, because it's quite complex. A lot of Isle of Harris. There you go. Oh yeah, forgot to say the Heroch will be the name of the single malt. So it's distilled in pot still, and it's called a Dotach. It's the name of the pot still. What is amazing about this gin, and it's the same for the Cotswolds by the way, it's the heart only of the spirit is kept for this gin. So no heads or tails. There are 9 ingredients in there. There's sugar kelp, there's some juniper from Macedonia, there's coriander, there's cinnamon, there's angelica root, there's bitter orange écorce. It's slice, sorry. Yep, my memory fails. So it's bark of orange. No, peel, or yeah, peel. It's the same. It's more specific to citrus fruit. Right. There's also cubeb pepper, and there's also licorice root and iris root. Now, the sugar kelp is the most specific one, because the sugar kelp gives this maritime element that's really appealing and charming in this whiskey. Now, the bottle is, I think it's stunning. You can see also, you can find on Google Map where it is exactly. Everything has been taken care of, and it's handmade. You have also in the printed label some things that evoke what's going on the island. It's also kind of recycled, I understand. Yeah, there's also the batch. That's very interesting infos there. The tainted glass if you go on Isle of Harris website, or if in their account on Instagram, you will see the magnificent shores, the color of the sea, which is insane, which in some parts are really turquoise like this, and it's stunning. Now, the gin itself, I don't know if it has been chill filtered. It's a question I'm starting to ask now on stand, but I forgot before. It's important. Part of the gins are non-chill filtered. Most of them are chill filtered, but it makes a difference. I will even say more than in whiskey, probably. It's just a guess, because I feel the texture, the difference in texture. That is not relying on aging and stuff like that. So you really, it's the oiliness or not, and yeah, there's a lot of thing coming on. Sticky legs, so there's good fat in there. On the nose, immediately you have these maritime notes, a seashore and the sea kelp, but also this kind of effectively sugared, a bit sugared, which is not too overwhelming, but. And yeah, you have all these elements. I sense the Kuyper pepper. I sense, of course, coriander, juniper, but Angelica is something I really like in whiskey, in aroma of a flavor in a whiskey, but also in gin. Licorice, I'm not sure I'm feeling it. Let's try it on the palate. Oh yes, super subtle, delicate, subtle, yet there's still some power on the back end with the pepper coming back. Complex, fragrant, beautiful, very charming. I really love this. This is one of my, probably one of the top. It will be in the top 10 of top 5 for sure. Just adding a drop of mineral water, as usual. Yeah, it's hard with this heat, but there's something almost like in some gins on the verge of being soapy, but it is not. I think this, even if there's no lavender in there, yeah, there's no lavender, but part of the sugar kelp, and I don't know what else, maybe the flower, well, the licorice that comes across a bit silky on the palate, but yeah, the length is not super long compared to more traditional London dry gin. In fact, it is not a London dry gin, mind you, but yeah, beautiful, very delicate, and it as good as it looks. And this for me was really the big thing about this one. We're gonna move now to England, way southern. Oh no, it's not this one. It's, yeah, everyone wants to hear about the Botanist, I know. Beautiful gin, but there's one that's stunning I discovered last year. This is their, if I may say, it's not standard at all, but it's a standard gin. Why standard? I say it's not the name of it. It's a dry gin from COTSWOLDS distillery. It's because they have a lot of different variants of this, seasonal variants for winter, autumn and spring, but also a bit of variations on how it can be used. I think they also has slow gin, some liquors. It's a lot of stuff produced by this English distillery, founded in 2014, with a capacity of production now of around 500,000 liters. And yeah, the specific things I have to say about this one. Where is it? Cotswolds. Yeah, so they use wheat, blé in French, as a spirit base. They distill it in pot still, of course, and it's non-chill filtered, as you can see. It's a small batch. You can see the numbers here, 7,800 for this batch. From it's a bottle from 2017, yeah. And only the heart is kept once again. Ingredients wise, there are 9 ingredients: Genever, lemon zest, yeah, so peel, grapefruit peel, pink grapefruit peel, lavender, coriander, angelica, cardamom, black pepper, and bay leaf, laurier in French. So complex one, but not of the most complex, and quite fragrant with the lavender on the front. This is also beautiful. Yeah, as a whiskey producer, you have this one that some call signature, the Odyssey barley. So this one is 2019. Beautiful whiskey I've already covered, I think. In French, not sure in English. Oh no, yeah, probably in English with the bourbon cask I have also, which is cask strength. So lots of infos there. Yeah, copper pot still, Holstein type. So basically that's all I can say before tasting. Again, sticky legs, lots of fat, so lots of preservation of the character. So kudos to Daniel Zor, who produced this. You're doing a great job with the whiskeys, both whiskeys and gin. This one, I think you can see there's a lot of medals and a bunch of competition. Each year they get medals for the gin and the whiskeys. Yeah, lavender driven. What can I sense all on the nose? Of course, juniper, coriander, angelica. Cardamom comes across also strong. Grapefruit, yes, also. So it's interesting to discover this tiny or a bit more differences between one gin and another. Cheers. Super fragrant, lavender ahead, but also the other elements, and also herbal, which sometimes we tend to forget. It's not London, yeah, it's dry gin, but so there's always some herbal element that, I mean, the juniper and the coriander, and there's something very rooty in all those gins, very earthy, very fundamental. Lovely, and this makes a great gin and tonic, if you wonder. Yeah, one of my favorite as well. Don't want the video to be too long, so we're gonna go back. You will find this later on in the top gins I have. There's no doubt about it. I have tried the other ones, but in quick conditions from Cotswolds, I mean, it was difficult to really assess them in the show, but there were some nice variations. Now we're gonna move to the Botanist, one of the best gins on the market. Also beautiful packaging, and we'll talk a bit more about it in a second. You all know Bruichladdich Distillery, so founded in 1881. Do I really need to present it? I don't know. But for those who don't know, they make unpeated whiskey, or maybe 2-4 ppm Bruichladdich. These are Islay Barley 2010, and yes, I have a overview to make about Bruichladdich as well. They also made Port Charlotte, which is 40 ppm, which is a heavily peated single malt brand, and they also make an even more heavily peated one called Octomore. I have only one Octomore, and it's not recent, so I don't know if you'll be satisfied when I'll do the review, but I tried others. This is interesting because in Latin, I think you have all the names of the component there, but it's not easy if you don't speak Latin, so I got to take more infos to talk a bit more about this. This is made in their still called Ugly Betty, that you can find online if you want to know. This one is probably the most complex. Yeah, the most complex. Look at this gin of the day, with 9 classical, as they say, spices, and 22 roots and botanicals that are local. That's why they say Foraged Island Botanicals. So in total 31 ingredients. Before I get to the composition, what do the gin is in tell us? Base spirit is wheat. There's some interesting experiments. Yellow bed straw in a gin, yes. Quite technical things about the botanical. I cannot go too far in this now. Okay. Just as they say, that it's one that's heat and spice driven, and then juniper, and then herbal, citrus, and floral. 2001. Yeah, in 2011, sorry. What the Bruichladdich distillery was still rather unusual. Foraged botanical are commonplace in gins that make a statement of place. Of the massive 31 botanicals in the Botanist, a full 22 are locally foraged, and they range from the quotidian spearmint to the hardy, weedy, and unusual in gin yellow bed straw. Blah blah blah. It's very long, so I'm not gonna go too much in there. Ingredients wise, there's Angelica. I won't give you the Latin name, it will be too long. Apple mint, which in France translate to menthe odorante. Sometimes translation in French is very different. Birch, so bouleau in French. Bog myrtle, myrica in French. Cassia, fausse cannelle de Chine. You see, it's quite different. Chamomile, cinnamon, clover, trèfle en français. Coriander, elderflower, fleur de sureau in French. Gorse flowers, fleur d'agent in French. Hawthorn, aubépine in French. Heather flower, fleur de bruyère in French. Juniper, genièvre in French. Ladies' bed straw flowers, it's almost impossible to translate. I found Paulette de Dame, a.k.a. Golium. Weird, isn't it? There's also lemon, lemon balm, licorice, meadow sweet, reine des prés in French. You see, it's quite complete. Mugwort, never heard of that. Armoise in French. I mean, never heard in a gin. Orange, orris root, which is racine d'iris. Peppermint, sweet Sicily, tansy, in French tanisy. Thistle, which is chardon in French. Thyme, watermint, and wood sage, sauge des bois, probably. So you see quite a complex, very herbal, lots of ingredients in there, and the best is to try it. Legs are not sticking a lot like the others. I don't know why. Does it say not chill filtered? It doesn't say at all. So maybe it's the explanation there. It's a bit paradoxal if it is so. I cannot be sure about that, so just a guess. Nose-wise, quite complex, quite herbal, quite powerful. One of the most powerful I have on the table. I hesitated to make it last in the lineup or second to last. Finally, it's in the middle, almost. Wow, beautiful, quite fragrant. A bit too hot today, but I've tried it a lot, so I know it's good. See, enjoy it. Yeah, it's one of the, paradoxically, with all these local ingredients, it's one of the closest to London Dry Gin made by traditional companies. So it's weird. I mean, it's less local, feeling local than the Harris, for instance. It's way more local, but it's very good. So I guess the result is important, even if it's stated as super local, super this and that. A few drops. Yeah, it's gorgeous. And the juniper is really the center here. So yeah, it says Islay Dry Gin, but very, very, very London Dry Gin for me. Right. Gonna move to the intruder in the room, if I may say. Again, forgive me to cheat a bit. This is the number 3 London Dry Gin, and this is not the latest look it has. I'm sorry. So this is made by Barry, the indie bottler I know quite well because I've visited there several times, and I know the guy who selects the spirits. So a big hi to Doug McIver. A big shout out. Number 3, it's because number 3 in famous James Street, near to the Princess of Wales Palace in London, in the city of London. So Barry Brosnan wrote quite an old indie bottler. For each producer of gin, I wanted to show a whiskey that they do. They don't distill whiskey. They don't even distill gin. They blend, they bottle, they select. And for instance, this is a quite old 2010 bottle. Here you have a blended malt from Speyside, which is the Speyside Reserve, second release. Chill filtered uncolored, 46%, beautiful stuff. We may try this another time in a video about blended malts, who knows. Now about the gin, the problem with this gin is that it isn't made in London, even if it says London Distillery somewhere. Was it in the website? But it is made in Netherlands, and it is distilled by the Kuyper distillery in a direct fire copper pot still. It uses 6 botanicals, but one of the botanicals did change over the years. That's why I really struggled to get a recipe, and I'm gonna give you the recipe with the change of botanical. So in this one, they state there's juniper, orange peel, angelica root, coriander, cardamom, and grapefruit. But on the on Dave Ram's book and online, if you see other releases than this one, which is for 2017, you find orris root. Doesn't say it, sorry for the noise. Yeah, you find orris root instead of, if I'm not mistaken, angelica, which is quite weird. So anyway, we're gonna try this one. Beautiful blue, green tainted glass. This is a London Dry Gin, so sticky legs this time, not too much, not too long. Yeah, fading quick. I mean going down quick. On the nose. This is interesting because it's London Dry Gin, but it goes a bit to the I'll just show you again. Yeah, goes a bit towards the it's a compromise between the Botanist and the Cotswolds. That's why I wanted this to be in there. It's very interesting on the nose. So you have the citrus fruit coming on strong, but the juniper is still there, so it's quite balanced gin. Let's go on the palate. Cheers. So the palate, even more today, it's a bit weird, but the palate is lighter today, but I know it's stronger normally with not this heat. It's bolder than now, but today the palate feels lighter than the nose, but I know it's bolder. It's quite melted, it's very well composed, very classic one. If you want a solid London Dry Gin and you don't want to go to the big brands like the one we're going to see after, take this. This is very nice. I didn't spoke about prices, I'm sorry. For the Isle of Harris, I had it for 48 euros. It's a craft one, so a local one, so tiny distillery, so tiny. They still say they're gonna have almost 400,000 liters of alcohol per annum, so it's not so tiny, but it's very craft. So at 48 euros, somewhere like that, a bit more. There's beautiful ceramic, forgot to mention. Little smaller bottle of the Isle of Harris, which is about 60-70 euros. Cotswolds around 45 and more euros. The Botanist around 40. This one is around, I had it for 41, but it's probably a bit more now, and we see after. Now we're gonna put a few drops and move to the last one. Hoping it's interesting for you, hoping you have some nice gin. I know there are other distilleries making gin. I mentioned some in the last episode. Again, have a watch please if you want to have a bigger perspective on general gin production. Yeah, on the same charming, super melted, super well made, juniper, citrus fruit, angelica, coriander, very well builded one. They know, I mean, the gin's coming initially from Netherlands, so they really know what they want. What they do, sorry. Gonna move now to the last one, which is interesting in the way that I didn't knew that, because I don't always. So big tall bottle, TANQUERAY N 10, it's the look it has now. It might even have changed. The nickname is small batch gin distilled with imported fresh citrus and botanicals. This one is 47.3 ABV. Oh, maybe should I put it there? Yeah, okay. It's even better. So tall. So this is not the regular one you can find, which was initially called export strength at 47.3, and now it's 43.1. It's a bit weak. It's the signature recipe. Established 1830. Why? Because it's a whiskey and a grain distillery. Who does that? Yeah, who knew? I didn't notice or didn't pay a lot of attention, let's say. So weirdly, the Cameron Bridge Distillery, which is a grain distillery, a Scotch whiskey grain distillery, has an official release which you may struggle to find, which is around 7 years old, which is this one. Well, let me just put it there. But it's called weirdly Cameron Bridge, while it's still made, and you can see it on the bottom, Cameron Bridge Dry Distillery, sorry, Fife, Scotland. So yeah, Lowlands, almost all are located in Lowlands. And also, you know, this is a UK import, so you will struggle to find it there, honestly. Now, if you want to know what is the Cameron Bridge grain whiskey like, you can search for this one. This one is obviously colored, chill filtered, and all that jazz. 40%. It's not a masterpiece. It's pleasant, but it's a very modest one. Yeah, I'm gonna speak a bit about the distillery. The easiest way to have an idea of what Cameron Bridge tastes like, it's to get the, and this is the wink, the hedonism. So the blended grain from Compass Box, 43%, yeah, too bad. And natural color, non-chill filtered, aged in first fill American oak. My bottle is from 2000. It's 2017. It's the batch A. If you go online, again, not everybody knows that, you can download the fact sheet which explains the recipe, and not only the distilleries and the type of cask, but also the years, because they're not allowed to explain the years, to tell the age of the whiskey. They are only allowed under SWA regulations, and even here in France, to assess the youngest component of the blend. And even if it's a single malt, if it's stated 12 years old and there's a few casks that are older, they're not allowed to tell you on the label and on public information. But if you dig a bit, or if you ask them, you have to ask, and they are allowed then to tell you. It's the way John works in his master classes. It's funny. I cannot tell you what are the different ages unless you ask. Do you ask? Yeah, okay. Now there's a trick that you can see there. If you want to know the ages, you just have to count the circles. It's like a tree, and you count the number of the circles and you get the age of each one. So this is the trick, in case you don't know. Many of you know. So for my batch of hedonism, a 2017 batch A, there's 46% of Cameron Bridge in there, 23% of there's others, single grain distilleries, North British and Dumbarton. North British, I thought it was closed. I'm almost sure it's closed. Dumbarton, it is closed. Distillery, I have a Dumbarton, very old whiskey, by the way, in my collection. I'm pretty happy to have that. Strathclyde, 3%, and 15% of Port Dundas. So you see the batches vary, so that's why I told you it's 2017. For instance, if I look at the 2022, which I showed you, there's also some Girvan distillery, 20%, so the recipe is a bit different. But yeah, so have a look there and you learn more about, try this whiskey and you'll know what it tastes like. So Cameron Bridge, quickly, it was since 1824. They did also made malt whiskey before 1929. and they had a pot still. Crazy, isn't it? It's owned by Diageo. It's the largest grain distillery in Europe. It claims to be the oldest. It's related to the dynasties of blenders and the Haig, for instance, family. Robert Haig making whiskey in 1655. It was known. Quick resume I can do there. I mean, summary. Yeah, they use the patent still, the Stein still. So it's. And then, yeah, Irish engineer Ernest Coffey improved the Stein designs to do his own patent still. So John Haig immediately installed them there. When Alfred Barnard, famous whiskey writer, visited in the 1880s, there were 2 Stein, 2 Coffey, and a pot still to make a Irish pot still. Crazy story. Blah blah blah. Yeah, and then they switched to completely whole own grain in 1988. And yeah, alas, the most well-known product from them is the Haig Club. But they're indie bottlers who every now and then they release some Cameron Bridge, not often. It's not my favorite grain distillery, mind you. It's a bit too average and too classic for me. But it can be interesting, and it plays a role in blended whiskey as well. So right now, the TANQUERAY N TEN, I mean, it's probably the most famous one in the gin industry. It only has 8 components. It was launched in the year 2000, this version. Has Genevieve, coriander, angelica, grapefruit, lime, orange, chamomile, and licorice, and that's all. And that's all. Sticky legs. I don't know if it's chill filtered or not, but this one is quite powerful. It's simpler than many other gins on the table, to be honest, but it's super efficient, and especially for cocktails. It's made for cocktails. So, yeah, less complex, but very powerful, very juniper driven. Wow. Okay. Smells simple, but tastes gorgeous and more complex than it seems on the nose. There's a lime, and of course playing a big role there. Angelica, did I say angelica? Yeah, coriander, orange, of course, orange, and chamomile. So this is a not so complex, but yet very subtle in the balance of flavors. Gin, and absolutely gorgeous, and GMT, hard to beat. Even if, of course, all the gins out there, I mean, especially if you take the 3 first, Harris Gin, Cotswolds, Botanist, I mean, you're in for a treat. Oh yes, silky as well, less herbal now, more sweet, still remaining probably the most powerful of them all with the Botanist in terms of herbal and grit, and the juniper. Beautiful one. So there you have it. My second, probably not last, but for now I don't have other gin made by whiskey distilleries in my collection, except the one which doesn't produce whiskey yet, but new make, the French one I talked to you about. Stay tuned for other videos soon, and you will hear about gin as well. If you have my Instagram, if you have access to Instagram, Greg's Whiskey Guide, go to check out my account there, because I speak about gin and in the latest series of 5, I think, posts with a lot of text. explaining to you what was interesting to try at Cocktail Spirit Show in Paris. So hope you liked this episode. Don't forget, if you like it, only to give it a like and blah blah, you know the thing. And if you want, tell me your experience with gin, and if you knew all these distilleries were, I mean, except the obvious Cotswold and maybe famous Botanist, if you knew the background of these, and if you have other whiskey distilleries making gin to advise to me and to the audience. Thank you very much. Bye bye.